the different shades of pride. Different shades of pride. I know that many of us have heard that show or that movie that came out. I never saw it, but anybody ever heard of that 50 Shades of Grey? Mm-hmm. But we're not talking about 50 Shades of Grey tonight. We're talking about the different shades of pride. Because how many of us know that pride has many different shades? I didn't realize that until looking at this lesson. And so here in the text, we're going to see what that looks like. And we're going to, actually, I preached on this on Sunday, but we're going to dig a little deeper. Making sure those of you, did I welcome everybody? Did I welcome you? No. Welcome to tonight's Tuesday in the Word in person, and as well as those who are tuning in via Facebook Live. Welcome. Again, let's dig right in. So tonight's lesson, we're talking about the different shades of pride. When we think about different shades, what comes to mind? Colors. What?
Different meanings.
Different meanings, right? Anybody else? Think about in the African American community, we have different shades of being black, right? Mm-hmm. Right? And so, but even though we have different hues or different shades, it still doesn't take away that at the core of it, we're still what? African American, right? Mm-hmm. And so just like with our with African Americans, where there's different shades of our color, there's different shades of pride. Because sometimes when we think of pride, we kind of just think of it as just, oh, that's pride. But there's different shades of pride. Are you with me? And so tonight, what we're going to see, our case study tonight will be that of a man by the name of Naaman, who is a commander over a military. Okay? He's a commander over the military of Aram. He has a great reputation of being a warrior. He is known to be great. He is a man of valor. The king, who basically he reports to, he speaks highly of him. He says that he's great. So this is a man who has great success, right? And with this great success, he has a great reputation. He has a high position because he is a commander. That when you are a commander, you are not just some random person that somebody picked me like, you know what, I want you to be a commander over the military. When you're a commander, it's not enough just to know how to fight. You have to be a great warrior, who I'm reminded of. Remember David's early start when he joined the military, when he was under Saul. He was a great military commander. Remember, it all even talked about how he went in and how he came out. In other words, people looked at him, or he had the reputation of being wise. And so here Naaman, who is not, he's not Hebrew, he's not from Israel, he's from another nation by the name of Aram. Another name for Aram is Syria. And so here we see, not a Jew, we see a what? Gentile. There, boom, Monica's been to Sunday school, we see a Gentile. We see a Gentile. And so what we see here is Naaman is a leper. He has leprosy, which is a skin disease. And during these times, there was no cure. In fact, when you had leprosy, according to Jewish culture, if you were found to have leprosy, you were isolated. You were not allowed to gather or be around other people, okay? But he's a man that's from another country. And perhaps what I'm thinking, what this is probably indicating, how he is still able to, do the military stuff and all that. Perhaps his condition wasn't to the point to where it could be seen. maybe it was in the early stages, because over time, leprosy will take you up out of here. Leprosy will start it's a skin disease that will eat things up, meaning your nose could fall off, your fingers could fall off, and body parts would fall off. It was really bad. So perhaps it hadn't gotten to the point because he was still functioning. He was still working. And so what happened is he has this leprosy, and when they would go out on military campaigns, there was bands of people who would go out and they would do some raids. And during their raid, when they would raid, they would go out and basically rob or take from people. And then they might even take people and they would take them back to their country as servants. So just so happened, he had a servant that was serving his wife that was from Israel. Okay, I'm going somewhere. And she's from Israel, and she says to her mistress, and I'm not talking about somebody's side piece, I'm talking about the mistress in these times was basically somebody that she served. She said to her mistress, she said, you know what, basically, our master could get healed in Israel. There's a prophet in Israel, and he could receive a healing from that. Well, the mistress or the woman of the house communicated that to Naaman, and he goes to his king, because he doesn't just take leave and just goes on over to Israel. He goes to get permission from the king, and the king writes letters and sends him to Israel's king. Okay, so after some issues that took place, which is not really, I don't even want to even dive too much in there. When he carried this letter to Israel's king, the letter stated something to the fact of, hey, I'm sending him here. I'm sending Naaman to you to get healed. Well, Israel's king took offense to that, thinking that, oh, he's not coming here for healing, because I'm not God. I don't have the power to give that for somebody to live or to die. And he felt like the king of Aram was trying to be funny and was trying to provoke him to war. But after all of that got worked out, Naaman went to the prophet named Elisha. He went to see him. And so he shows up outside of his house, and let me back up. Elisha sends word to where Naaman is in front of the king and says, hey, send him to me. If he's here for healing, send him to me. So he goes and he shows up at in front of Elisha's home, and Elijah sends the solution or the remedy by his servant, by a messenger. Well, we talking about what tonight?
Pride.
Hey everybody, we are in 2 Kings, or actually look in the comments, you'll see we're in 2 Kings chapter 5. We're talking about the different shades of pride. And so we have here, let's go here. And so he shows up. Elisha sends a messenger out there with instructions. He tells him, go to the Jordan River, dip 7 times. Not 4, not 3, dip 7 times. Where? In the Jordan River. Seems simple, right?
Yes.
Well, what happened was, he didn't like that. But let's back up a little bit more. Before he left Aaron, he gathered up clothes and treasures in order to, I guess he felt like he was going to pay for the healing, because he's a commander, he's well-to-do, he's wealthy, and so he's gathering up all these items to pay for a healing. And so when Elijah sends the messenger out and tells Naaman what he needed to do, Naaman, he gets very, very, very upset. So let's look at verse 8. Now when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent word to the king, asking, why have you torn your clothes? Just let Naaman come to me, and he shall know that there is a true prophet in Israel. He shall know that there is a true prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stopped at the entrance of Elisha's house. Notice what he came. He came with horses and chariots. But prior to that, if you look at verse 5, it says, so he left and took with him 10 talents of silver and 600 shekels of gold and 10 changes of clothing with him. And so he has all this, and in addition to that, he has his horses and chariots. You talking about, hey, Devonna, you talking about an entourage, An entourage. Help yourself to something over there if you want. Good to see you, my friend.
You too, girl.
We are in 2 Kings chapter 5.
Okay.
And so, what was I talking about? I got so excited about the gold. He had the gold, he had this the clothing and the silver and all that. And then in addition to that, he showed up with basically an entourage. Okay, that really doesn't really make sense to me. Here you have leprosy and you showing up with all this grand stuff, right? But again, he's a man of notoriety. He has an impeccable reputation. He's a great warrior. He's a commander. When you're a commander, you're not just over 10 people or 100 people. You're over thousands, okay? And so he shows up with all of these people. And so when the prophet Elisha sends the servant out to give him the remedy or the solution or the instructions on how to get healed, he does not like any of it.
He gets pissed. He mad.
In fact, he's, as my mama just told y'all, pissed. Okay? He's mad. He's mad because he doesn't understand why Elisha didn't come out to greet him. Let's go to it. Y'all don't believe me? We're talking about pride, guys. Verse 10, Elisha sent a message to him saying, go and wash in the Jordan 7 times and your flesh will be restored to you and you will be clean. But Naaman was furious and went away and said, he left, guys. Indeed, exclamation mark. When you see exclamation mark, what that mean?
He's emphasizing it.
Yeah, if somebody sends you a text or a email and they put that exclamation mark by it, we hear your tone, right? Or if somebody sends you something with all caps, what's that mean? We hear your tone. It's almost like you yelling. So, exclamation mark, indeed, I thought he would at least come out to see me and, let's stop there. I thought he would at least come out and see me. Dude, you might have it going on in Aram.
You in my house.
But you in Israel.
Yeah, they don't know you.
Why did he need, if he gave you the remedy, if he's giving you the solution, why is it so important for you that he has to come out to see you?
Right.
Well, let me help you, because I'm Naaman. Everywhere I go, I'm honored. I'm the commander over thousands. Have you seen my reputation?
The big cheese.
Have you seen my resume? Have you ain't heard about me? And so what we're dealing with here is, remember we're talking about different shades of pride. This is the first shade that's coming up. Is that big word that we hear thrown around all the time, and that is entitlement. What you should be concentrating on is getting healed
Yeah.
with your dusty self.
Don't worry about it. Just give me the
Ain't going nowhere.
You too worried about honor. You too worried about somebody respecting you because of who you are. Dude, you got leprosy. If you don't get healing, you ain't gonna be here that long. Leprosy is going to take you up out of here. Ain't no title gonna keep you from dying, right? Ain't no honor, no respect. Do you think people laying in the hospital at OSU that's dealing with cancer care about somebody saying Mr. or Mrs. or doctor or anything? They looking for what? Healing. But here we got this entitlement, feeling that you deserve special treatment or privileges. Indeed, I thought the least he could do was come out here to see me. So in here, Naaman's a powerful military leader, expects to be treated with great honor because of his status. He's important. But what does that look like for many of us? Do we have a sense of entitlement? Where we get bothered when we're not called by Mrs. or Mr. What about in church? Oh, I'm coming. Do we get bothered when we show up in a service and somebody doesn't call us pastor this or apostle this or Elder Jojo and Apostle Lulu, Pastor Johnson or Pastor this, prophetess this and prophet that? Bishop this, bishop that? A true indicator that you're dealing with pride, this idea of entitlement, is when your title, when you're not, you walk in a room and they don't say your title. You're not deacon this or you're not teacher this or whatever the case may be. And instantly anger comes up in your heart. He showed his, but how many of us secretly have anger in our heart when our name is not called or we're not honored, or some other people's name was called, but you overlooked me. And sometimes people overlook you and it's not malicious. Especially when you at a church service, people, especially during the week, revival and stuff, we don't want to hear 10,000s. We want to hear giving honor to God. We want to hear that. Giving honor to God, pastor, we don't even say pastor, members and friends, pastor's aide, the usher board and all that. We don't want to hear that because at the end of the day, what we're trying is, many of us got to work the next morning. Am I right about it? We trying to get out of church. We want sing a couple songs, preach, get up out of there. Dismiss. But sometimes we think that we need to have this special treatment, or we have this privilege. And if you don't call me by my title, or if you don't, or you fail to honor me or recognize me, or you don't stand up when I enter into the room. Right. If anger, or you're feeling some type of way because your name wasn't called, because you wasn't recognized, because people didn't point you out or pat you on the back or anything like that, clear indication. Pride. Ooh, it's quiet. Remember that cheer? Hey, Kelly. No. Hey, bingo. It's mighty quiet over there. I got a new tier. Hey, saints. It's mighty quiet over there. Any questions? That's right, Donovan. He needs to be humble and kind-hearted. We all do. Not just Naaman. We all do. That's right, Lisa. That part, you don't know who I am. You better ask somebody. That's right, Lisa. That's how they talk. But what about people that's dealing with? Sometimes people act like, oh, you know, I don't need no title on this. Sometimes what we have is we have this false humility. We pretend to be humble, but deep inside, we want our names called. We want pastor to be put on that name. We want elder. And there's nothing wrong with titles, but when it gets to the point to where it's getting in the way of your healing, when it's getting in the way of your transformation, when it's getting in the way of restoration, that's the problem. Okay, I'll come on out, Naaman. You'll be a dead commander. Right? No, you're fighting for your life. You are fighting for your life. Hey, cuz. John Coates, hey. And so, he got mad. He was like, indeed, exclamation mark. I thought he would at least come out to see me. Even though you got the solution right there. And check this out. He was so mad, y'all. He didn't just say that and stood right there and then go to do what he needed to do. He left.
Man.
Can we say big mad? You left.
With the leprosy.
But that's not the only thing that he was doing. That's not the only thing. Entitlement is not the only thing that we see here. He also says, it says, but Naaman was furious and went away and said, indeed, I thought he would at least come out to see me, Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Important, Mr. Man with the title, me with all the accolades, me with the impeccable resume, me, stand and call on the name. Then he says, I thought he would at least come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, wave his hand over the leprosy and heal the leper. Whoa, now that's what we're dealing with now. We're talking about different shades of pride. He is telling him, the prophet, how he should have been healed. Dude, if you knew how to heal yourself, there would be no reason for you to come your little narrow behind all the way from Aaron, all the way all the way from there to Israel to seek a healing. He said, you could have waved your hand over me, call on your name. He's telling the prophet how to heal him. Ain't that's crazy, isn't it? So what we see here is we see he think he know everything. Okay, you know military, dude. I'm gonna give you that. You know commander. I'm gonna give you that. You know horses. You know fighting. You know what? You know nothing about getting a word from the Lord. You know nothing about healing. Because if you knew anything about healing, you could have healed your darn self. But he's a know-it-all. And sometimes when we have when we've been successful and we are sitting in these high positions, we think we know everything. Not everything, everything. On the job, y'all got them people you work with, they on the same level as you, but they trying to be the supervisor.
That's what them titles again.
When we in the church, pastor can't preach because we got somebody trying to help him preach or teach. They know everything. But what he is doing here, what we see here is we see somebody getting in a lane that don't belong to him. You ever been in somebody else's lane?
Sure.
You know how we say, what's that famous thing, that quote we say? Stay in your lane. What y'all talking about out here? Wouldn't it be also, what you say, Donovan, wouldn't it also be in, I quote, title or advance going to your head? Yep, show am. Show does. But that's what he's doing. You all over in Israel in a lane you ain't got no business in. You came down here to get help, but here you are, you're trying to tell the helper how to help you. You like that, didn't you, Unjack? You trying to tell the helper how to help you. Many of us try to tell the pastor how to help you. Pastor is giving you the word of God, but then you gonna go home and apply it how you want to apply it because you feel like the way you communicated is better than the way the pastor did, right? You know what that reminds me of? How many of us go to the doctor, get a prescription, and take it how we want to take it? Not how it is on the bottle or the instructions, right? It says take with plenty of water. We turning up a Pepsi. I'm taking iron pills with a Pepsi. Right.
You ain't the only one.
Right? Right? Or how many of us have an antibiotic and we got about 6 or 7 pills left over? It says take and what is it? Take complete and don't share with Lisa, don't share with nobody. But guilty with that. We don't do the instructions.
Nope.
Because we think we know how to do it better than the doctor. Right? Doctor told you. Borderline diabetes. I'm talking to me tonight. Borderline doctor. Well, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna quit eating them sweets at night. I'm gonna do it in the daytime. No, that ain't how. You drink some more water, Kelly. Put the Dr. Peppers and the Pepsis down. Quit. I tell everybody I don't do it. No, well, since I've been at Jasmine's house watching her kid, she always leaves me with a pack of Reese cups. But what I do is I put them under my pillow, and it could be like 1 o'clock in the morning. I try not to wake all the way up, but I'm like feeling around under my pillow, getting a Reese cup. Don't even turn the light on. I'm so good I can unravel it, and I know exactly where my trash can is. And why am I eating a Reese cup at 2:30 in the morning?
It's bad.
It's not bad, right? Right. Not following nothing that the doctor done told me to get better, to get healthy. We gonna rig it up ourselves, right? And so yeah. Reese cups are my weakness, Donovan. And so here he is. He all up in the prophet's lane. But how do we mirror that? Are we so arrogant? We're talking about the different shades of pride. Are we so arrogant that we think we know everything? I said this on Sunday. How many armchair quarterbacks are coaching from the chair on Saturdays and Monday night football, Sunday football, Saturday football? We telling the coach is saying this, and we saying, no, don't run that, just run. Or better yet, how about when we show up to these kids' game, the coach trying to coach, but you over talking the coach, telling the kid what to do.
Yeah, preaching now.
Always in somebody's lane.
That's enough.
Right. Thinking or telling the player what they should do. Knowing good and well, if you tried out, you would be cut.
Yes.
Right?
What do you do that for?
Or when we look at the Grammys or all them little shows that we see and somebody on there dancing and we talking all kind of crazy about how we would do it better or we could sing better than that and all that in somebody else's lane. You do good singing in the shower.
Hanging out that
Right. But we have these people that always are dabbing in somebody else's thing. They think they know more than the teacher. They think they know more than the manager, the supervisor, all of that. Stay in your lane. He says, you could have called on the name of your God. Remember, he don't even have a relationship with Israel's God. Call on the name of your God. That's another thing. Dude, you a visitor. That's like coming over somebody else's house, telling them how to prepare the food or how to do their house. You ever had somebody come over your house and tell you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want somebody to go. Show them to the door.
Lisa said, because some people think they know it all and they write, sit down somewhere, stay in your lane. Right. And half the time when people are saying stuff and speaking out of turn and then somebody else is like, half the time they're wrong. Yeah, they is. I said it. And I meant it. Hey, Jazz. Jazz tuning in from New Orleans.
Hey, Jay.
So we see here this idea of pride, the different shades of pride. We see entitlement. Now we see arrogance, a belief that you are superior to others and deserve special treatment. Superior, meaning that he felt like the way he felt it should be done is way much better than what the prophet. And so we talking about many or different shades of pride. So Naaman's arrogance shows when he is upset. When he's upset, it's like he don't want anything simple. It's like he wants something grand. Like you should come out here and do this and speak the name of God. No, he simply said, this is what you do. Go down here, go down to the Jordan, dip, and you'll be healed. And so him doing this really just demonstrates to us how arrogance can blind us to the ways that God might want to work in our lives. So how are we stopping God working in our lives? Sometimes we don't like the method that God is using to do stuff in our life. We don't like it. We can look at him and be like, well, come on, Naaman, you got leprosy. Go on down there and just do what they told you to do. But sometimes our lives mirror that also. He didn't like the method. He don't want to go. Number one, he felt like the Jordan River, I don't know what it's like today, but it was considered to be dirty.
Yeah.
And remember, he says, why can't we go to why didn't you choose a couple of the rivers in Damascus? That's where he's from. All of our rivers is way better than anything in Israel. So therefore, right there, you're insulting Israel. The very place that you need help, you're insulting it. You're saying that our waters ain't no good, but where you're from, they're better. Well, why don't you just go on down there and see how far that gets you? And so he doesn't like the method. So what areas in our lives is God trying to, or God wants to do deliverance or breakthrough or whatever he's trying to bless us with? How many of us is just like Naaman, where we don't like the method? I don't want to go down there. It's dirty. It's ghetto. But let me tell you something. If my healing is in the hood, I'm going.
Yeah.
Even if I'm scared, I'm going. Now, it might put me a little knife or something, but I'm going. I guarantee you, if somebody on there suffering on their almost near death, if they were told, go and you will be healed, I bet you they go running.
Mm-hmm.
Get desperate enough, you'll go. But sometimes we haven't gotten desperate enough. Perhaps maybe this illness wasn't as, it hadn't gotten to the degree to where he is suffering. But again, it's the method. He don't like the method. Do we like the method? Do we like the path that God is carving out for us in order for us to be restored? Maybe somebody under the sound of my voice, you've hit rock bottom. And maybe God has instructed you, or maybe you're sitting in a church setting and the word of God has come forth about how to bounce back, and you don't like the method. Perhaps the method may even come from somebody you don't even like. You need help with your rent? I need you to call Sonia. I ain't calling Sonia. Sonia be in my business. I'm not calling her. Or maybe somebody, your healing is in the mouth of somebody that you don't want in your business. Maybe you're hiding your leprosy. Maybe you're hiding a health thing. Hiding a health condition. Maybe you're struggling in some areas and the Lord has directed you, call so-and-so and have her pray for you, or call so-and-so, have him pray for you. But because you're so full of pride, you don't want nobody in your business because you want to paint this picture as if you got it all together. But could it be that you're messing up your own deliverance, you're messing up your own breakthrough because you don't like the method? Y'all quiet. Uh-oh. And so he goes on to say, are not, he's naming the 2 rivers in Damascus better than all the waters of Israel. Again, you're insulting. That's arrogant. When you're arrogant, you're full of insults. You talk down on people. You think you know it. You think you're better than people, right? All right. Could I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in rage. Then his servant approached and said to him. But before I say that, I want to talk about another one, is this idea of haughtiness. You know what haughtiness is? Remember he says, after he talks about, well, remember the arrogance was him getting in somebody else's lane, telling people how, can we turn that? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, because it makes me lose my train of thought. Where was I at, guys? Haughtiness. When we think of haughtiness is a sense of superiority that leads to disdain for others or humble things. Remember, that's where the insulting came from. Haughtiness. Thinking you're above everything. You're better than this. All right? So notice what happens next. After he goes away, he went away in rage. Then his servant, we're in 13, then his servant approached and said to him, my father, if the prophet had told you to do something, some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then, when he has said to you, wash and be clean? Did you hear what he said? If the prophet would have told you to do something great, would you have done it? Notice what is happening here. Notice it says his servant. We see here what this looks like is someone speaking truth to power. He's a servant. When you're a servant, that means you're under somebody. You're subjected to somebody. So this is his boss, if you will. This is somebody he's serving. He has enough guts to speak truth to power. But notice what I really want us to see here is we see 2 servants that we see weave through this text. The first servant was the girl from Israel who told her mistress, which is the lady of the house, where her master could get the help for the leprosy. Servant. Then we see a servant who steps in to help you try to help you avoid making the biggest mistake of your life. Do y'all see that word servant? So sometimes what happens to us is we think we're all up here, but look what God is using. God sometimes is using people who we think are in a lower status to talk some sense into us. We got one servant who is directing us, who's pointing out where to get the help. Then we got another one trying to turn your goofy butt back around. Y'all not see that? I don't know why y'all ain't excited. Don't ever underestimate people who we think we don't need.
That's right.
Or people who we don't think is smarter than us. Right?
Yes.
Neither one of them was a commander over a military. It doesn't say that either one of those servants was successful. And in fact, one was a slave girl. But she had enough sense, she had enough wisdom to give you the wisdom to point you in the right direction of how to get help.
Right.
Then you got one when you're making the greatest mistake of your life, smart enough, wise enough to step in, speak truth to power and say, dude, turn around. That's being a friend. Not only is it speaking truth to power, but that's being a friend. All of us need that type of person in our life. And all of us, what depends on which side of the coin we fall on. If we be in a naming where we're storming off and mad, hopefully we got somebody in our circle that is not afraid of us, not afraid to speak the truth to us in love. And so he says to him, if he would have told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he has said to go wash and be clean? So this is what Haman does. Notice we're still in this saga of undoing. He goes and he embraces the word and he embraces the instructions and he goes down to that dirty Jordan and he didn't dip once. He didn't dip twice. Dip, baby, dip. He didn't dip 3 times. He didn't dip 4. He dipped 7 times. He didn't do like we do with them antibiotics. He didn't go down and say, you know what, I'm starting to feel better. My skin is lightening up. I'm starting to feel better. I'm not going to finish. No, he completed. Notice he did 7 times. When we think about the number 7, what comes to mind?
Completion.
What does it symbolize? It symbolizes completion.
Perfection.
Right. He did not stop dipping. He did not stop taking the antibiotic. He did not stop dipping until he completed what he needed to complete. And so we're talking about undoing. So what do we see that has been undoing? Undoing pride. And guess what? All these weeks we've been talking about undoing, but we have noticed that it's been God doing the undoing. But here in this text, we get to participate in the undoing of our own pride in our life. And so how do we undo? How do we reverse? How do we undo pride? We undo it first with surrender. His surrender was in the walking and going to do what the prophet sent him to do. He laid aside his will. He laid aside his frustrations. He laid aside his anger. He laid aside all of the entitlement. He laid aside the arrogance. He laid aside the haughtiness. He surrendered to the will of God. He surrendered to the instruction. He surrendered to the process. But not only that, when he got down to the Jordan, notice it said dip. When we're like this, when we're dipping, what posture is this?
Humbleness.
Humility. And so how do we undo pride? We undo pride first with surrendering all of that junk. Surrendering the entitlement, the arrogance, the haughtiness, the anger, all of that. Thinking we know everything, being all up in somebody else's lane, insulting people. and then we get low. We humble
Humble.
ourselves.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, that's all, folks.
All right.
Amen.
That's how.